Augusta criminal defense attorney. Okay, so let's make clear this grand jury heard testimony and evidence for the jailers involved in her death, not the police officer who originally arrested her at the routine traffic stop.
Yes, and that was one of the major confusing things on social media last night. People thought that there were articles that said nobody would get indicted in the death of Sandra Bland or the arrest, and that was majorly confusing because people know that that was a bad traffic stop, that officer was excessive in his force, and he at minimum should be charged with excessive use of force.
Okay, so the coroner determined that she died from suicide, and so basically the grand jury is now saying that the jailers are not going to be held culpable for this, right?
Yes, they're not going to be held criminally culpable. Now, they could be held civilly liable because the family is filing a wrongful death suit, which could encompass a lot of things, from them not properly supervising her. Someone should have checked on her periodically to make sure that she did not hurt herself or harm others, that she had a plastic bag in her room, in her cell, to even hang herself. So those are things that the civil case will come into play, and those people would probably be held liable for that.
Okay, now let's talk about what's going to happen after the new year in January. Will it be the same grand jury or a different grand jury that will then look into the actions of the police officer?
I am not sure of the answer to that question. Oftentimes, grand juries are impaneled for several months, so they hear separate cases. But in this one, I'm not very sure. However, they will be presented with the evidence in reference to the police officer who did the traffic stop, well, the state trooper who actually did the traffic stop, and we saw him tasing her, threatening to tase Sandra Bland, and that caused a lot of outrage in the community where people want answers, and they want him especially held accountable that she shouldn't have been arrested at all.
Okay, so is it typical that they would do these sort of in two different scenarios, where they would do the jailers and they would do the police officer or the state trooper separately?
Yes, because they're two separate events. One did lead to the other, but the stop is one event, and then what happened at the jail is a different event. So though you can't commingle both of those two events because they will be on their face separately, and that's why they held them at different times.
All right, so we're clearing up the confusion.
Yes.
The case is not over criminally or civilly.
Yes.
And we will continue to follow that. Eric.
And we'll know in January what happens.
Thanks much.
Thank you.